you at the company. Um,
Thank you very much.
yeah, so before we go ahead, let me just do a quick intro of myself.
Okay.
My name is Chukunonso, and I'm a product manager with over half a decade of experience. I worked across multiple industries, including fintech, data, um, and energy, renewable energy. Currently, I'm a product manager at at a startup working in the media booking industry sector. So I lead a team of engineers. I work cross-functionally with multiple other teams who are trying to revolutionize booking tech in the US. Aside that, yeah, I love football, sports, and trying to keep fit. Thank you. Okay, so Oluwatosin, or should I call you Tosin?
Anyone is fine,
All
actually.
right, all right, Tosin. Please, why don't you tell me about yourself?
Okay. Yes, my name is Oluwatosin. I I spent the last 2 years driving product development across industries. Currently, I work in the logistics space where I have built or I'm still building solutions that aim to automate the business process, streamline workflows, and enhance efficiency. Prior to that, I used to work at a software agency that that really helped in honing my skills across industries. Because this day you could be working with a client that is in the fintech space, and tomorrow you could be working with a client that is in the hospitality space. So it just helped me in juggling my product skills. Um, so through this experience I've had, what I have in the logistics company I work with currently, and what I've gained from the software agency before. Um, I have had hands-on experience on building products um, from the very scratch, conceptualization to strategy to execution and launch. Um, I've learned to navigate the stakeholder landscape, the ups and downs, stakeholder management, um, manage a team of 7 to 10 individuals, and I've while managing my team, I've helped in fostering collaboration and also achieving the goal why we have even come together the first place. So I've worked on a internal application and also a customer facing application. Um, I'm also currently working on a product for a new business line in the company I work for. Um, Outside work, you would most likely find me playing the piano. I love playing the piano. Yes, that's a bit about me. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Um, Thanks you for introduction. Uh, all right, so Oluwatosin, um, you've worked for a couple of years now. So what would you say are your strengths and your weaknesses?
Okay. Um, I think that both for both strength and weaknesses, I have learned them over time on the job. At least within the space of 2 years, I've worked. Um, and there are things I'm working on, both strength and weakness. So let me start from strength. I think that I have been able to work with teams, different teams, and I think the team spirit, team collaboration, and also stakeholder management. I've been able to, I don't want to use the word control now. I've been able to manage stakeholders, both expectations, delivery, the way they want to work versus the way things should work. And yes, so I would say that's my strength. Now, when it comes to weakness, which is something I'm also working on, I think that um, putting out failure to my team. So if we have failed at a particular thing, um, setting it plain to say, okay, guys, I think this is what we failed at, and um, putting it out to them basically is one thing I have struggled with, which I'm working on. And to work on it, I've put up some structures in place to help me always complain to them and say, this is the issue we are facing and how best should we go about it.
Okay. So if I got your weaknesses correctly, you are not able to tell your team if they did well or not.
Not if they did well or not, if we have an issue, because of course I'm like the middle person between management and my team. So when I attend management meeting and I receive some kind of backlash, sometimes explaining those backlash to my team used to seem difficult.
Okay. So what are you doing to rectify this? What
Okay.
have you done?
Okay. I discovered that one of the reasons why it gets backlash is because of probably meeting timelines with what meeting timelines set for my team. I have had two experiences like that where we had set myself and the team had set timelines and we were not able to meet up with those timelines. And of course, we know the effect of not meeting up with timelines when it comes to product management. And what one thing I have done is to always have a promote them when at the start of every project. So myself and the team, we have a promote them where we talk about why do if we get to a point in product and we fail, why do you think we will fail? So we or if everybody states why they think we will fail, and we begin to address those issues. So someone can come up with the fact that they have inconstant supply of electricity. Then we find a way to work around a workspace that the person can. We just bring ideas. Sometimes the ideas might just be as simple as, oh, there's no workspace in my area because my team is a remote team. There's no workspace in my area. I can just go. Everybody on the team can just, okay, let's find you a place that's nearby. You get a place nearby. I think you can use this place at least. This is good. This is okay. Just basically solving those problems. We have a list. Solve the problems of we think we might encounter that would stop us from meeting up with that timeline.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Um, all right. So let's dive into your experience. See, you're like you said, you're a product manager at SSAF Logistics.
Yes.
So during the time you spent at SSAF Logistics, can you tell me about a complex problem you encountered during a development cycle? Um, yeah, so I want to know what the problem. Tell me what the problem was and your approach to resolving the problem.
Okay. Um, One major problem I have encountered in the course of development life cycle for the product I'm currently working on is the fact that we had somebody on the management that was also in the product team. And it was really, really challenging, honestly. So, when you have um somebody on the product team that's also that is also in the management, there is a limit. Yes, there is a limit to the things that we could do. So we were while everybody was trying to keep to their toes, say, okay, have you done this? Have you done that? You're supposed to submit this today. You're supposed to do this today. And the person is coming up with, oh, we had a management meeting for the last 6 hours. I'm just coming back. How was I able to handle that? I just had to come up plain to the management at some point. After we had gone back and forth to say, if we continue like this, then we need to adjust our roadmap to move some timelines forward. And that was when they could understand what I was saying because the person was holding a major role. The person was not just a ordinary in quotes developer. Was already holding a major role in backend development. So yes, that's one major thing I've faced. And then I was able to bring stakeholders to understand the reason why and that it was possible to get a replacement um, to the role that person was holding, so that things could get balanced and I could hold everybody by their words, hold them and say, okay, you have this working hard, you're supposed to deliver this. Yes, that's one thing I was able to work on. Thank you.
Hi, Nonso. Could you speak a bit louder? I think some people find it hard to hear you at some point. Thank you.
Okay, is this better?
Very well. Yes, thank you.
All right. Okay, Tosin. So you said the a complex problem you've had to solve was a team member dealing with a difficult team member.
Yes.
Okay, and you you confronted the team member at about the issue that or the problem the team member was bringing by, and your was it like a threat that you have to remove the readjust the roadmap? How did that happen? How did that conversation go?
Okay, so I was able to present the options we had to the management to say, okay, if this person remains on the team, because person also holds a very, very important role just in the company generally. So it's more like you're holding two time consuming roles. So I had to put it up to the management if we would be we had two options. And this was after I had spoken with the person. Um you would either have to retain this person to this, then extend timelines, or get a replacement for that person. It was just quite simple and obvious.
Okay, so how did the person react?
Oh, okay. Like I mentioned, we already discussed about it. I already asked him, what do you think we could do? I wanted to get it from the horse's mouth. What do you think we could do to this? And these were suggestions that I had in my head that he also suggested. So it was more like it was what he said. So he could not more or less hold me to my words. It was a suggestion he gave. So we just decided, okay, let's put this to the management.
Okay, and at the end of the day, what happened?
We got a replacement.
The replacement. All right, cool. Okay, so how about a time? How about a time when you encountered conflicting feedback from users or stakeholders regarding a particular product feature or strategy? How did you reconcile these differences and make
Okay,
a decision? Yeah.
okay. There was a time we had concluded when we were going to release the MVP. We had concluded on features that were going to be in the MVP, and we didn't just do this conclusion like it wasn't just me and the product team. We involved management, stakeholders, and we also had sign-offs on this document. Okay, this is what we are doing for the MVP. Only for um, someone amongst stakeholders to come later and say this is this and that. Um, Meaning that we needed to change certain things on that list of features that we had for the MVP. Um, and when you talk of, oh, we already signed off on this, we already they say, are we not the ones that signed off? We will remove our signature. That was literally the word I had. We signed it now, we will remove our signature. There's no problem with it. And before I just argue blindly, I was able to sit down and see if what the person presented was okay. Um, it was about 45% okay. And one must be very careful when you're dealing with stakeholders because they are major decision makers over a product. So what I was able to do was to explain to the management to say, okay, this is a very good suggestion, but it could come with V1, come with version one. The next set of features will be rolling. I did not win the argument to be honest, because they felt like I could not. They were not just buying it because they felt this thing was supposed to be in this. It's supposed to be in this MVP. There's no way it should not be in this MVP. In fact, I don't. They felt they don't understand why we missed that feature out of the MVP, and it wasn't that we missed the feature. So at the end of the day, I wasn't able to win. Um, so they requested. So we had to go back and start doing readjustment. That was one not so nice issue I've had.
Okay, so you told me about the time when you had conflicting. You just told me about the time when you had conflicting feedback and
Yes,
from users and stakeholders. But then in this
yes,
scenario, you were not able to convince the stakeholder.
yes, I wasn't.
Hmm. Okay, so what did you learn from this experience?
Um, okay. So one thing I learned from this experience while doing my reflection was I needed to get more source of truth when I was going to present, whenever I'm going to present something to a stakeholder. So if I'm going to say it should be this way, I needed more than enough reasons why it should be this way. So it just made me ensure that I was doing my homework very well before I had any stakeholder meeting.
All right. Okay. So I just want to clarify that I'm not sure you understood the question. The question was, tell me about a time when you encountered conflicting feedback from users or stakeholders about a feature or strategy. How did you reconcile these differences and make decisions that aligned with user needs? So I'm expecting a situation where you were able to convince and how you did that.
Okay. I get it now. Okay, a situation where I was able to convince them. Okay, I during the course of building a product, building one of the majorly the internal product we had. There was this request from one of the teams. Okay, so before building the internal product, of course, we spoke to everything that will be involved in the use of this product and what their expectations were. Um, so there was a particular team that were asking for so much for an MVP. So while we had the list of these products and the list of these features and tendered them, I had to do a separate meeting with that team lead because I understood how assertive she was um, about everything on the list that they have presented, why it must fly. So I worked out through reasons why there was this particular one that she was really serious about, and it will require lot of effort on the product team side. And I had to explain to her why that's if we put that product, it's not like if we put that feature in, it's not like anything would spoil, but it will also mean that we need to extend timeline because we had limited resource. We had the numbers of developers I requested for, where the number of developers that I got. And after the business had explained reasons why we had to go with those numbers. um, so I had to explain to her, we have this thing is doable, but it's going to take a lot of time. And we had other features that we could push out. So the way I was able to buy in was, okay, this is the next thing on our list. And actually it was something that we could put top of our list by the next release.
Okay. Um, all right. So what would you do? Uh, so I'm noticing there was no user feedback, no data to back up your your points or make your arguments. So leading me to my next question. How do you gather user feedback? And then tell me about it. So it's two questions, right? First question is, how do you gather user feedback? Second question is, how do you implement? How tell me about the time you've implemented user feedback in a product and what the result was. Do you understand? Two questions.
Okay, yes. Okay. Um, So how do I gather user feedback? Currently, the tool I have live is an internal product, and to get feedback, I we have a on our there is a tool we use and name is Udo. Sort of we have tickets where we manage tickets. So internal users send complaints, suggestions, and all to that ticket to that software. So I we go through it. The product team reviews it over time. Also, we have a monthly um, check-in on every team, marketing, customer service, and the rest. Just go through, speak to them. If there are certain things, understand what struggle they are facing, um, and what they look into. Oh, is this product out? What this product is doing well? Okay, are there certain things you want from it? So they sometimes they just send in via the mail. They just send in suggestion. Oh, we faced this and this at work today. I think if we could get this and this, it would be nice to have on the on the product. So we, after that, we sit down, we just add everything to the backlog, then we sit down to do our prioritization. That's how I gather user feedback. Please, can you remind me of the second part of the question, please?
All right. So before I remind you, so you gather feedback by making use of a tool integrated into your product,
Yes.
and feedback from customer. Was it support
For each
or
team that is using the product. It's an internal product.
is an internal product?
Yes.
Okay. And they submit this feedback how?
Most times we do it them physically. So we meet, go to the office that period. I'm always in the office that period. Meet these team members, basically meet them in their offices. Oh, how's this? Is this going well? Basically asking questions. So I gather them by physical, more like physical interviews.
Okay. So the next question was the follow-up question to that was, tell me about the time you've implemented user feedback and what the result was.
Okay. So we do backlog grooming frequently. Every time we end a should I say release period now. So when we have our review, when we have our planning rather, we groom our backlog. We look at what we have, and we do that based on three major things: the business value for what that feature, the urgency for that feature, the we also consider the how much the customer needs that particular feature. They will now look at it vis-a-vis the product same strength to carry out that feature. So we just basically give a score. By the time we give a score, we agree on which of the features, based on the scores, which of the features we should work on next. So yes, there are times that there's this feature where the customer service team suggested that we have a feature of uploading pictures where they can upload pictures of products, when pictures of shipments, rather deliveries, when we're delivering them, just so carry the customer along. And when we're able to do our prioritization, it was one of the features we saw that was very necessary, because of the kind of complaints we've been getting from customers. So we're able to implement it, and yes, it worked. We used to get complaints like that from the customer service log. We used to have complaints about things that we think this feature would solve, like 10 or 15 of them, that reduced after a month to about just five complaints from 10 or 15. So yes, that was how we're able to implement that feature.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Um, I have one last question for you. So the so if two key stakeholders have conflicting visions for a product's future direction, how would you facilitate a resolution, while ensuring both parties feel heard and their concerns are addressed?
Okay. Like from past experience, I think that one thing that speaks volume and truth is data. And but there are sometimes that when people give suggestions or suggestions or contributions on product features, um it goes beyond data and the way you're able to present it. So how I'll go about it is I'll do my own work, get sufficient data, do enough research for what I want to do, and I'll present it to the management or stakeholders, as the case may be. Most times I always prefer that I have met each of them one on one. If there is time that I've met each of them one on one, I think that there is power in um, speaking to these people one on one. Some people feel confronted even when you show them data in presence of other people. So almost all of the things I will have said at the meeting, most likely I'll discuss with them. And from my experience, by after speaking to one or two, or the two of them, or the persons involved, the from data, the result of the data, if it is against the whichever party it is against, they will most likely have understood and agreed that okay, this other route is better. That's the kind of experience about the times I had conflicting issues. I took them to the stakeholders involved personally because I had the time that I could use to do that. And I was able to convince them. So by the time we go to the management meeting, the other person has more like said, oh, I think I already see this from product manager's perspective, and I agree with Mr. A, B, and C. Let's go with the idea.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Tosin. I think we've come to the end. So, uh, Bridget, feedback time, yeah?
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
sure.
All right. Well done, Tosin, right? Love the attempt. The way you answered some of the questions, fantastic. Um, However, I have some feedback, right? I like, first of all, tell me about yourself. Yeah, you did really well. You gave me some background info about yourself, and you told me about your experience, and you rounded it off with extracurricular activities or interest. Feedback from that would, however, be um, it should be more like a story, right? Um, you
Okay.
should be able to say it in a story format while you touch, yeah, while you're not just listing off places you worked at, things you've done. You could an approach a good approach is usually a story, right?
Okay.
For instance, if you are if it's if it's an educational platform or company, you could say you could start with ever since I was a child, I've always taught people da 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 da. I did I taught lessons after school hours to make some money and this and that, and that's what led me to my passion for education and why I'm doing product. So something like that. You get that.
Okay.
Um,
Yes, I get it.
so a story grabs the attention of the listener and makes it more cohesive. You have to be able to then intertwine your background info, your experience and interests tactfully, right? Okay,
Yes.
so
Okay.
the question I asked you after that was, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Um, all right, what I did notice in this was that there wasn't really a structure to your approach. For strengths, you did about like that, and then you didn't really do more after that, right? There was no story about how that has helped you, your experience, nothing like that. Then for weaknesses, the only weakness you talked about just one weakness, so it was not even, right? If you're going to talk about strengths, you mentioned two strengths, you mentioned two weaknesses, you mentioned one strength, you mentioned one weakness. Let it be even and balanced, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
when you mention your weaknesses, you don't want to just end it at weaknesses, right? You want to end it at, okay, this is something I've noticed in the past or noticed about myself, and this is what I'm currently doing to improve, or
Okay.
yeah, strength, turn it into a strength, right? Obviously, your weaknesses cannot be all those fake weaknesses like I work too hard. That's not a real weakness, right? You they want to see a bit of vulnerability
Yeah.
um, when you're talking about weaknesses, right? Um, okay, cool. All right, so I asked you. The question I asked you after that was behavioral questions like the time you encountered the problem you encountered during a product development life cycle, your approach to analyzing, and all of that, right? So again, what I
Yes.
did, your attempt, like your attempt. I'll just say again, this part like was missing structure, right? There are some
Mm.
different ways to approach answering behavioral questions, right? You heard of the SAR approach, situation, action, results, right? The question is
Yes.
discuss a complex problem you encounter during a product development cycle. And then you could say, okay, let me tell you about the time when I was leading the development of the microservice architecture in a fintech, uh, in a fintech company, and we were 3 months behind schedule, something like that. That sets the tone, right? You're giving background. So now I'm following you. I know what to expect to hear. Right. Next thing is your action. What did you specifically do that you know to resolve this particular problem? Right. And it can't be something as trivial as you call meetings and you ask people to speak. You understand? That has to be something very concrete. I talked to 50 users, gathered feedback, and discovered that the problem was X. Right. I
Okay. Okay.
I carried out 10 A/B tests within 2 weeks, gathered feedback, and discovered that the problem was Y. Right. And then this was then the R stands for result. This was the result. After doing that, we implemented the feedback. This resulted in and our net promoter score jumping to 8 or 9, money rolling in, 30% revenue increase, and all of that nice stuff. You understand? So this
Okay. Yes.
approach can pretty much be applied to every other question I asked,
Yeah.
right? There's also the um, uh, nuggets nuggets first, where you just you know start off your response with the thesis of what your story will be about. Just a little bit. They're somehow similar, but that's by the way. So the next
Okay.
question I asked you was about encountering. Can you hear me very well? Encountering conflicting feedback.
Yes, I can.
Right. When you encounter conflicting feedback from users or stakeholders regarding a product feature or direction. So on this question, um, the what you could have done better is ensure that you understood the question properly before diving in. It is okay to repeat the question back to the listener or to the interviewer rather to ensure that two of you are on the same page and you understand it before diving in. It is also okay to ask for a minute to think. I noticed that you were diving in immediately, right? You could ask for
Okay.
some time
Okay.
to gather your thoughts.
Okay.
Okay. So the question is, I should tell you about a time I encountered conflict, feedback from users or stakeholders regarding blah blah blah. Please confirm. Yeah, you guys are good person. Like yes, that's it. All right, thank you. Can I have a moment to collect my thoughts? And the
Okay.
person will oblige you. All right.
Okay.
So you need to ensure you understand the question. Allow yourself some time to think about your approach. That what you're doing in that moment is you're deciding. The context that's missing here is that there's no particular company or industry you're applying for, right? So you'd have to find
Um,
a story that from your work experience that
that
fits the
fits in.
context of the role or
Yeah.
company you're applying to or interviewing for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
it has to sync. I also notice when they ask you questions that have to do with user centric stuff like users conflicting feedback, the- and there's something very important that you don't that you need to mention is how you utilize data. Did you use data to make decisions? Did you use data to drive your point through, make your point, make your argument? That's very very important, right? Because they want to see whether you know you are data centric, right? Do you constantly talk to users? How much do you value data when you're making product decisions? Yeah. So
Yes.
you need to be able to point that out as well.
Okay.
Um, okay, so that is then the other question was how do you gather user feedback? You talked about using a tool. I was going to ask you, how many times in a week do you talk to users? Um, you know, right? How frequently do you have do you conduct user testing where you are the one conducting it? How many times do you do the questionnaires where you are asking your users about the problem they faced, how often they face that problem, how often do you do that, how often are you in sync, right? Because if you're not talking to your users that often and you're relying on second hand or someone else to give you that feedback, you're most likely not getting the purest form, right? So some companies um, that follow a um, product led approach, you know, find it make it have it. It's very important for them that you a product manager who loves to talk to customers or
Take
users
feedback. Yeah.
as frequently as possible.
Feedback is good to know.
All right. It's not bad to use a tool. Yes, use a tool, but nothing substitutes for
Speaking to
qualitative. There are two types, right? Qualitative and quantitative. And
yes.
to get both, you need to talk to users and you need to use your data tools, right? Um,
Yes.
one tells you what is happening, the other one tells you why it is happening.
Mm.
So I think that's most of the feedback I have. Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you so much too.
All right, you're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Nonso. Thank you, Tosin. So I just quickly want to ask, Tosin, I don't know if you have any questions maybe you'd want to ask Nonso before I then take it to the audience.
Um,
Maybe more
yes, I think
questions or clarity. All
yes,
right.
I think I have one. So in a case where you've not experienced something in the line of the question you were asked, what's the best approach in answering that question?
Um, hmm. When you don't have any experience in that, case, are you a good
Yes.
storyteller?
I don't think I can rate myself good though.
If you are not a good storyteller, then honesty is your best option, right?
Mm. Okay.
And if you're a good storyteller, you might want to try and come up with something. But if you can't, and you know you'll be found out, just be truthful and be like, okay,
Okay.
all right, I have no this has not happened in my experience. Would you, ask the question back in a polite way to the interviewer,
Okay.
like, what would you do in that instance? So, what would you advise? All
Okay.
right,
Thank you.
no problem.
Sorry, Tosin.
All right.
Emma here. I just wanted to add to that from a HR point of view and someone who has been doing interviews
Okay.
for a long time. So if you're asked that question, you can just again honestly say, I haven't dealt with this, but if you have dealt with something that is similar, share the similar tangent and say, oh, something similar happened. This is what happened. So if this is what is going to happen, here's how I'm going to solve the problem if I have A, B, C, D. Or like Nonso
Oh,
said, you can then ask them the question and say, okay, oh, is this something that's actually happened? Can you tell me how you guys were able to resolve it? Because it will be a good learning point for me. So there's no need to be trying to cook one story. Just go straight to like, oh, I've dealt with it before, or no, I've dealt with similar, or how can you share your experience with dealing with the matter? I think that just shows honesty and then just show because no one is expecting you to know everything. Really. So I just wanted to add that.
okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emanuela. Yeah, so do we have more questions? Please, you can um raise your hands and I'll call you if you have questions for either Nonso or Tosin, but majorly Nonso, so that you can, answer them. Maybe you noticed anything during the interview, or you'd like to get clarity on some of the feedback that Nonso has given. Emanuela, you still have your hands raised. Um, do you have like a new question?
I'm very sorry. I didn't realize my hand didn't go down. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. All right. So thank you so very much, Nonso, and thank you, Tosin, for. Okay, yeah,
I'm
Emanuela.
sorry, Bridget. The question just came to my mind. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no, no, it's fine.
Yes. Oh, no. So for somebody, so for example, for somebody who doesn't have enough experience. So for example, maybe just only have like 3 to 6 months experience of interning, is currently career transitioning. Any tips on how you would suggest to them to answer some of these questions, bearing in mind that they've not dive deep into the product management sort of um career itself.
Okay, Emmanuel. So the question is for beginners or newbies into product. How should they approach answering this sort of questions?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Especially the technical side of things. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to make some assumptions here. Yeah, I want to assume that you're applying to a job that is for the level like an APM or internship level role.
Yeah.
So that will guide the kind of questions that you should be asked. But if you're ambitious and you're trying to go for roles that are a bit higher, like a year or 2 years, I would say you need to be very well prepared before entering such interviews, right? You need to practice, and um, you need to have a lot of mock interview experience if that's your aim. Mock interviews are when you have fake interviews with other people. Like this was a mock interview, right? You need to have a lot of that under your belt, and you need to really upskill a lot, right? There's no shortcut to being technical other than learning technical stuff, right? But it's okay if you do not study computer science. You will need to invest your time in short course programs. There are different routes you can take. You can either take the route of a QA that could get you technical real fast, or you can actually take a beginner's course in software programming or engineering, right? That should get you up to speed. But as a beginner looking to apply to for roles that are at this level, 2 years plus, lots of reading, lots of mock interviews to get accustomed to the kind of questions, understand that there are different types of questions one could ask, right? There was no technical questions here. There were no estimation questions here. This was purely behavioral or situational. You need to understand what are the types of questions you could be asked. And again, I don't think there's any substitute for experience, right? So you need to also get your hands um, dirty. What does that mean? Side projects. All these people that don't want to pay, but I'm not saying you should not find some that won't pay you, but side projects, let me just say side projects, right? You need to build stuff, collaborate with people who are just starting out, devs around you, and offer to be a PM for anything that, even if they are building a to-do list or calculator or another e-commerce or something else, or another nice project you find in the communities you're in, you need to you can volunteer, right? So that would be my advice. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. It was very helpful. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so just like Manso said, having interview sessions like this would help, as well as those side projects. So again, nothing can replace experience. So while you're trying to gather just basically try to prepare with mock interviews, and maybe read about those kind of questions. The areas where you're not very strong, you can read about them, maybe how to answer technical questions, and things like that. So because of the time, we might not be able to take the other questions on the chat box. So I am going to just drop a link to the Slack community just in case we are not there, so that we can, drop all these questions there, and be able to answer this question. I can see one is still to Tosin. She'll be able to, take that question as well. So I just want to say a big thank you to Nonso for making out time, and for Tosin, you did so well. Your responses were great. You were confident, and I believe that you've taken all the feedback that Nonso has given you. Also, we do this every fortnight, and we interchange this with other events. So just ensure to be part of them. We hold webinars as well every 2 Thursdays in a month. So that's 2 days from now. On Thursday, we have a webinar series session coming up by 7 p.m., titled Running Effective Research as a Product Manager. So this webinar would also help you. You should join. They would help you, in terms of like the question Emanuela just asked. Also, yeah, kindly just join the series, and also join our check-in calls that happen on Saturday as well. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you
Cheers.
very much.